Hello, the most gracious, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, in this time, let me retell the story about an old grandmother who lives alone, who is always happy with what she has, and is always grateful. So, let's get started. Once you found a time among other old women. There was one old woman who was very cheerful and who thought she was poor, but always made her happy. She knew that life was a journey, who make either with a smile or a frown of their face. Choose to always greet with a smile and help their neighbors. The old woman earned a living by being a housemaid or housewife for her neighbor and only expect a little food or a bowl of soup or sometimes a penny or two living like that is her part. And old lady never saw any reason to complain, but she might ask what is so interesting about her life or story. Well, this is where it gets really interesting, very interesting. One day, the grandmother went into the forest with her stepbones, and when suddenly in a trash she saw a big brown pot laying, and she said, "Oh my goodness, no one left this big brown pot in the trash. How's the owner?" Then the old woman waited and looked around, hoping the owner would take it, but no one came to pick it up. And the grandmother thought that maybe the pot had been thrown away like garbage by someone. And the grandmother said, "Oh, maybe this pot will be good to put my flower and put them in the window." But after saying that, the grandmother's view changed, that it was as if there were gold peaches in the pot, and suddenly the grandmother felt herself very lucky and was about to become a rich woman. Then the grandmother tried to leave the pot, but it was too heavy for her. After thinking, she had to other way but to drag it. And at once the grandmother thought that her neighbor would never know when she would drop for them a pieces of gold secretly to make them happy too. After that, the grandmother thought of buying a big house and sitting by a fire with a cup of tea, and then nothing like a queen. And the grandmother said how beautiful it was to sit by the fire and drink tea. After that, the grandmother said she wanted a chair for herself and felt herself very rich at that time. When she was a bit tired of dragging such a heavy burden, she stopped for a moment to rest for a while. When she turned to look at the treasure, it turned out to be not gold at all. It was just a hang of silver, and said how silly he had been all this time while he thought that it was a pot of gold that he dreamed of. But Truck it was also lucky for him because silver is much easier to store and not attract attention. And maybe his house will not be as grand as she want. But she still could sit in a chair by the fire and drink tea. After imagining what she wanted, then the old woman continued what she was going to do and feel like before until she felt tired again. Then she stopped to rest and looked around to see if her treasure was safe, and she saw nothing but a lamp of iron beak. And suddenly the grandmother said, "How stupid I had been when I thought that it was silver. I must have been dreaming, but this also forgot luck for me. I will sell and get money in return. Then I will not hate anything. I will be able I will be able to afford a new house, but I can still build a small fireplace for me and buy a chair to sit by the fire and drink my tea." Then the old woman goes away again, wondering what she will do with the money, until then she returned to the farm for the after time. And this time it is not a lamb, but it is a big sandy stone. But she is very lucky, and luckiest because she said, "All gold and silver and money will give me headache, but this is perfect. She has long wanted, and stone to break everything. What luck she has got." After that, the old woman ran down the hill until she came to her own house. And when she turned around to open herself to see the stone, she was very surprised to see the rock got bigger, and said, "Oh my goodness, this is perfect. I can sit here and drink tea. I don't need this chair. It is very good for me. I finally had something to sit and drink tea." But before she bent down to touch it, the rock turned into a big lamp of cotton, and then from there came out 4 white feet and 2 ears and a face that looked like a beast, with canines, protruding red lips, and arched eyebrows. "It is a cotton animal." But the grandmother said, "Aren't you so cute?" So then the grandmother said, "I always wanted a pet." Then the little monster appraised the grandmother and said, "What kind of person are you? I have tried to change myself and carved you with gold, then turned it back to silver, and after that turned it into a lamp of iron, and then rock, and you were as heavy then. And now when I saw my free self, you called me sweet instead." Then the grandmother said, "Of course you are adorable." After that, the cotton monster said, "I can't stay here any longer." Then he turned it into a butterfly and flew. The grandmother saw it and then just shrugged her shoulders. Then went back into her house, and immediately when entering her house, she was surprised to see a lump of rock laying on the floor. Then when she saw in surprise, the stone turned into a beautiful wooden chair. The grandmother said, "Oh, this is perfect. I better make tea." But the grandmother was surprised and saw a piece of iron and said, "Oh my goodness, I will sell it tomorrow morning." Oh my goodness, how happy grandmother was in her happiness. She circled around and was surprised when she saw there were gold pot, silver pot, and iron pot, and also the chair. The grandmother was very happy as usual. But the grandmother was not greedy. She shared her wealth with her neighbor. Secretly set up, and everyone is very happy. So, and the moral values of the story, this grandmother has taught us that it's not about being content, but it is about learning how to turn appointment into an opportunity to see things from a different perspective, and we will never decide. Okay, maybe just this what I can retell the story. See you next time. Bye bye. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.